Let's take a quick look at the Burkii Red Cedar. I've made a video about this before, but I wanted to give you an update. If you can find it, either in person or online, I highly recommend getting one of these trees to add to your collection. Species-wise, the Burkii is just a cultivar of the regular, plain old Eastern Red Cedar that you see growing everywhere on roadsides, cliff edges, disturbed areas, anywhere that seems to be the worst possible growing area for a tree. In the eastern U.S., that's usually where you see Burkii Red Cedar, or regular Red Cedar, thriving. Now, apparently, the Burkii was found somewhere in the wild or in cultivation, because this is not what regular Eastern Red Cedar looks like. The Burkii is different because all of the foliage is pointing up, branching up, as you can tell, and the tips have a decidedly bluish, and in wintertime sometimes purplish color to them. Other than that, it's the same as regular Eastern Red Cedar. Extremely drought tolerant, cold tolerant, heat tolerant. It gets these blue berries in the wintertime, which some years can be an extremely large number and really add to the blue color of the tree. And they're not actually really blue, they're actually a dark purple with a white powder on them. Here's one I got in my hand, and you can see on that berry I've wiped off the white powder and to show you it's extremely dark purple. And on the other little one there, I went ahead and took off the purple fruit exterior to show the seed inside. Birds do eat these berries and spread the seeds everywhere, and that's how these cedars end up growing in the most random locations on cliff tops. But you can probably find them online rather than climbing a cliff to get one. Let's look at some more. Here's another smaller specimen. And you can see I've got it staked up a little bit here because the branching structure can sometimes be very irregular on the Burkii Red Cedar. This one wanted to veer off to one side and grow in an odd direction, so I staked it, and during one growing season it has corrected, and now it's got a nice vertical leader here. And you can see we're in January now, and it's got a pretty good distinctive blue color. In certain lighting scenarios it does look a little purplish. One other thing I'll watch out for as this tree grows is to make sure there's only one leader. And you can see where this branch here, right there, is growing pretty vertical. So I might come along in the spring and trim the big branch here and let this new little side branch be the main branch, just to prevent multiple verticals from forming. I do that on a lot of trees. And this is one tree where I will have to watch out for that, because it looks like they want to turn vertical. And I want to keep all of the growth energy of the tree into the main trunk here in the middle, so I want side branches to remain side branches. Let's look at another one. Here I have a planting of 3 fairly large Burkii Red Cedars. And if I go to the left a little bit, you can see there's my extremely blue Arizona cypress. That is the blue ice cultivar. And in the middle here is the blue Atlas cedar. And that's about as blue as it gets. Then there's my Burkii, and then there's some more Arizona cypress down there. So if you're looking for the extreme blue, the blue ice cultivar of Arizona cypress is going to take you there. But it's relatively slow growing, somewhat unproven in Tennessee, and as far as I can tell, probably a little bit susceptible to funguses and cankers. And under certain circumstances, wind damage, if the root system is not strong enough. Now, blue ice is far superior to the Carolina sapphire, so I'm not recommending against the blue ice, but I am saying it's probably a good idea to diversify your holdings and also get some Burkii Red Cedar as well, because this has the home court advantage, being native to Tennessee. There's a lot less to worry about here. The one thing you may have to watch out for is bagworms, but that's true on anything, including the Arizona cypress. And if you see them, just pull them off carefully watch out because the spot where the bagworm attaches to the branch can constrict the growth of the branch. So make sure you get some little scissors and cut off that attachment to the branch where the bagworm hangs its cocoon. Other than that, pretty good. Low maintenance. Nice fragrance on these. They're not as fragrant as the Arizona cypress, but some people may be happy with that. Not everybody is a fan of the Arizona cypress smell, although I do like it. And you can see it gets the berries here. Growing very fast. I would say it grows more than 2 feet a year vertical on this species. And it's fairly conical. You can see almost ideally conical. Now obviously I'm not going to be getting up on a ladder and messing around with the branching up high, so if it does something crazy there, that's just the way it's got to be. But for now, looking pretty good. And actually you can see in this view, compared to the grass, that purple tinge to the branch tips that I mentioned earlier. And it's pretty cool and adds more color in the wintertime. In the summer it changes to more of a light sea green, as I mentioned. Now just for comparison, I've got to show you the regular Eastern Red Cedar. It's a little bit golden at the tips because it's wintertime, but it's normally a very dark, rich green. And this one I also have to watch out for branches turning vertical. And you can see on the interior there are those blue berries, which, being protected from the rain here, have all of their white powder and appear extremely blue. There are male and female individuals of this species. As far as I can tell, the Burkii is always female. The male will not have the blueberries. But if you're getting Burkii, I don't think you have to worry about not having the blueberries. Assuming you want them. They don't create a mess or anything on the ground. They pretty much get eaten by birds for the most part and never even touch the ground as far as I can tell. Sometimes WilsonBrothersGardens.com has the Burkii Red Cedar online. And just remember, the species is Juniperus virginiana. So don't get fooled by any of the Chinese junipers like Blue Point or all the others. You're looking for species Juniperus virginiana. Eastern Red Cedar, in this case the Burkii cultivar. The other place online is quicktrees.com, and I have never ordered from there, so you'll have to do your own due diligence, but they do have these sometimes. And maybe a few other places if you search around. And of course you can find the regular Eastern Red Cedar as well online. I think Burkii Eastern Red Cedar would do best in a full sun location. Here's one that I kind of have sandwiched between a few other trees, and I think it's just grown more vertical than anything. It's not quite as thick at the bottom, a little more sparse in the foliage, so it does become a tree, but not as big probably as the regular species. Pretty big. One other thing about the Eastern Red Cedar you should know is that it has an alternate foliage configuration when it's young or a juvenile tree or in low light situations. This is a regular Eastern Red Cedar that I have planted behind some loblolly pines, and I'm not exactly sure what's going on with it, but it's got a few unusual foliage configurations. You can see this is a more stringy version. Obviously not nearly as uniform as the Burkii Red Cedar, but there's the characteristic scale foliage. But down here, it's putting off some new growth of juvenile configuration, and it's more spiny, a little bit bluer. So just don't get confused if you see this type of foliage on extremely young Eastern Red Cedars. It will usually change over to the adult foliage type, which is closer to this. And I guess it's put off more juvenile foliage on this particular individual because there's more shade here behind these pine trees. It's a very interesting species, and there's a lot to love about it. One word of caution I would say is make sure it has only one single trunk as it grows, because I have seen some multi-trunk specimens split during heavy snowstorms or ice storms.